So in 2006, our church was demolished and we sold the land off, and it was sold to a local housing association, and they built houses on it and a new vicarage. This was the old vicarage, which was next to the church, and Helen, our vicar, in her wisdom, decided it was going to be the local community centre. So we set about redesigning the vicarage, offices upstairs, kitchen downstairs, and community room. And the garden, as you can see there right at the bottom, is there's no patio area. That's just as it was when we took it over. Next slide, Naomi. And that was the garden, quite overgrown, full of trees. And what did we do with it? So Helen was very good at sourcing money, and we got a team of people in to work on the garden, training association, and they started doing it. The work on the house was done mainly by parishioners. Carry on, Naomi. And this is the garden getting a little bit. The far area, you'll see in the more recent slides, the far area by the fence, that became garden beds for the children to grow vegetables and stuff on. And we had a big compost area in the corner of the garden. Still no patio area on this. It was very, very basic as it was then compared to what it is now. The tree, you can see, some of the trees we've actually had, go back, that's it. Some of the trees we've actually had taken down. Now the fence on the left-hand side, the concrete fence, was a wooden fence, and it was like the lady before us, was taken down and burnt on as a bonfire. So we replaced it with concrete. The piece of land that's just the other side of it was the land that we kept to do a rebuild of a church on, which you'll see later on, which is not a church. It's not a church as per se, but it's our cabin, and we're very proud of our cabin. Okay, so we introduced the local school. You can see in the background the play area. That was, the money was paid for by the local council, because there was no swings in Norris Green, and they wanted swings, so they funded the play area, so we had swings, and the place was open to all the children so they could use it. So we started up a scheme called Dig and Grow, which would introduce the children into gardening. So we had the raised beds, as you can see, which were flower beds, and the other beds on the other side were for vegetable beds. Okay. As you can see, we had the local community police involved as well. We all worked as a team. This was prior to me becoming part of the church, so I'm only going off what people have told me. This was when we were starting, just before the cabin was built, and we started getting the grounds together. We had a lot of ground elder, and we spent weeks and weeks and weeks getting the ground elder up. But we all worked together, and we started having community days where people would come in and work together. So we'd buy a load of plants, and we would just plant them. We'd buy all the plants for hanging baskets, the raised beds and everything. We did it all ourselves, and we worked on it with the children. Party days. We've had over 100 people. Bouncy castles. We did this twice a year, once on May Day, which was the church's birthday. Sorry, no. And later on in August, we used to open up, and it was a completely free Helen used to source money from Cobalt, the housing association and stuff. And as you can see, the garden's quite well established. The tree in the middle is an apple tree, and the youth called it Alan. So it was Alan the apple tree. And then we have, and that's a Bramley apple tree. We have an Eaton apple tree, and we have a pear tree. Now, this was when we were preparing the land, which was the other side of that wall, prior to the cabins coming in. So we had to, well, I say we had to, we totally flattened that land and we took everything out. We replanted all the trees because they were in the place where the cabins was going to be. So we've the trees that look like twigs that you can see there have actually turned into cherry blossom trees. They were dying because of the ground elder and everything else. So we've moved all them. Next one. And that's the piece of land next to, and you can see the concrete fence. We used to get the probation services in to keep that land down because it was brambles, it was full of everything. And then, as you can see, the builders came in 2019, just before lockdown, just before lockdown. And we started our build, which opened up the complete garden. That's one of the cabins coming in. We had 8 cabins put in side by side. Just go back a minute. 8 cabins put in side by side. We opened up the garden completely. We had new play areas put in. We had new raised beds put in. You can go on now. And the area where the gate is now a mud kitchen for the children. What you can't really see on the floor, there's bricks on the floor, which we had kept from the original church building. And when the original church was built, the children from the area bought a brick and had their initials put on the bricks. And we've made that now into the pathway for the children's area. So the people are forever remembered. We don't know who they are, obviously, because it was 1932. But as you can see, the other side of the garden now is the cabin, which when we use it for church on a Sunday, we sit in church and we look out onto the garden, and we watch the magpies playing and the squirrels jumping round. Next one, Naomi. That's an aerial view, if you can call it that. We've had it all, it's all completely been revamped. Just behind the trees in the middle, we had, it was a mound, you could call it, I don't know, a hill, sort of. And we had a slide built and a fort, climbing frame. And Helen's very good at sourcing money. That's the garden pretty much as it is now. It's worked on by a group of people. You can see around the edge of the border of the cabin that we've got the bricks in there as well, because we had 100 and something bricks, I think. So we've used them all over the garden. We were fortunate that is our cabin now, as it is. The rails at the front were the original altar rails from the church, and they incorporated them into fences for us. We had all these raised beds put in the front, which are now veg beds or sensory plants. So, and we were very fortunate to be part of solar panels. We managed, that's it, Naomi. We were fortunate enough to get the money on the cabin, so it is now self-sufficient and earns us a little bit of money as well. We're very proud of it. We work hard to keep it. We've got it to the stage now where we're not precious over it, but we're proud of what it is. I don't know what more I can say. It's our garden and we love it. And over the years, it's come a long, long way.